Welcome to Night Shadows. I'm Stuart Best, where the paranormal is normal, where that which you thought you knew, you didn't, and where the future can be known if you know exactly where to look.
Well, good evening, everyone. This is going to be a quick update on things that are going on. And for now, we have, I guess, what one could call a ceasefire that will allow, of course, the enemies to rebuild and refurnish their missiles, etc., etc. Hi, Larry. How you doing?
Hey, Stuart. Watching the Middle East.
Yeah, that's I want to read an article here. I got a headline. Israel-Hamas approaching point of no return on path to war. I've been warning people, don't think this is over, because it isn't. It's far from over. After 7 months of violence along the Gaza Strip border, Israel and Hamas, terror group that rules the Palestinian enclave, have reached a crossroads with only two possible outcomes. That is, either a ceasefire agreement will be reached in the next few days, or there will be a fourth war between the sides, and tensions exploded on Monday, blah, 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 blah. What's your take? I think, and Bibi's in trouble, by the way, because of his refusal to fight back. What's your latest on that?
Yeah, well, of course, for those that haven't heard it, apparently there was a mysterious movement on November the 8th of something like, trying to find my notes here so I can quote it right, $15 million in U.S. money, American money, that was shipped in suitcases from Qatar to Hamas. And this allegedly was to be used to pay off Hamas government officials. And the question Hal Turner asked, why use American money? Why didn't the Qatar government provide it in Qatari money? So anyway, that happened. And then, of course, there was another interesting thing that popped up, too, today, was after Netanyahu had that 7-hour, Security Council meeting and stood against almost all the ministers and, of course, Lieberman, too, and refused to go into Gaza. Lieberman, who is actually is Russian descent, but a very good security minister, he resigned. He just suddenly resigned, and Hal Turner had a post up, said Israeli Defense Minister Lieberman resigns, slams Netanyahu for surrender to Hamas terror group. And also a report says Netanyahu and El-Sisi brokered an Egyptian-Hamas ceasefire, and Lieberman says Israel paid off Hamas for temporary political victory. And that does sound like that's what is going on. Now, at the same time, Debka File also reported, said Lieberman steps down as defense minister of Israel, says government bows to Hamas terror organization. So we don't know why Netanyahu chose not to fight, but he stood against a number of his government that wanted to go ahead and stop Hamas finally once and for all and stop the terror of the Israeli citizens. But that didn't happen. And so also this throws Bibi into a very political position, because they're calling now for a new election to try to replace Netanyahu. Now, I know you said the Lord showed you Netanyahu taking Israel through this terrible time, but was that a good move or a bad move? What do you think?
Well, he may know something we don't, or he's answering to a higher power than we know about. And obviously, in a situation like that, he would have called Trump and probably even Putin to find out or feel out what they would recommend. And for whatever reason, he backed down. Now, this is what Lieberman said. If I were to continue as defense minister, I wouldn't be able to look the residents of the South in the eye. This will severely harm our security in the long term. We are now doing what we're doing now as a state is buying a short-term quiet, with the price tag being severe long-term damage to national security. I believe he's probably right, because every time they stop, all they do, like you were saying the other night, maybe what they were doing was simply experimenting to find out if they could overwhelm Iron Dome. And they obviously proved that they could quite easily with a massive missile attack. So now, who knows how many thousands of missiles they actually have, which means probably this next one will be the final one. We do know from the prophets that Gaza disappears, is gone, and that hasn't happened yet, but I got a strong feeling it's about to happen. Something else is going on, too, in the Middle East, and all our eyes have been on Israel, but there's something else that appears to be going on with Turkey. I'm sure you saw this one, but I'd like your comments on it, Larry. Turkey declares border with Idlib, Syria, a military zone, is barring journalists, photos, and video for 15 days. It appears that the end of Syria's so-called civil war might be upon us. Turkey has suddenly declared a military zone along its border with Idlib province, Syria, for the next 15 days. In and of itself, the declaration of a military zone would not normally seem strange in that war-torn region, but what makes this strange is that Turkey is barring all media, all journalists, and cutting off all internet, all cell phone data transmission capabilities. So what's that about, do you think?
Well, what's posted on Hal Turner's website, he says that Turkey is now to begin the evacuation of U.S., UK, French, and other coalition partner terror groups out of Idlib, and Syria. So what are we doing? Of course, that's a NATO partner, Turkey is. Are we rescuing ISIS? What are we doing?
That's what I think may be very well what's going on. And you got to remember what Putin said. You get everybody out of there. And maybe this is going to be the next move. If they get those people out of there, then Russia can tighten the squeeze on that whole area. Virtually, it will be a proxy of Russia at that point. Syria will. And because Russia is cozy also with Iran, it seems to me like they're very slowly encircling Israel and just waiting to push Israel into a, Israeli mistake of some sort, if that wasn't the one that already started, and away we go again. We know from the prophets that this thing has to explode. And it's just a question of the timing as to when it's going to occur. And how long is it going to be for the cool-off or the ceasefire before somebody breaks? It's usually only within days. Have you heard of any violations, whatever, Larry, on what's going on over there?
Not in the last 24 to 36 hours. It's been totally quiet. Because
so your phone has not been going off.
That's true. And the minute they fire a missile from Gaza towards Israel, my phone tells me about it. So I know immediately before the news does. And, no, it's very, very quiet. And that's a concern because it makes you wonder, on another hand, if Trump and Netanyahu and possibly Salman is building something to maybe go after Iran, because the latest reports I've seen and heard from I've talked to some people that have some intel about what's going on around Israel, and the talk seems to be that Israel knows Iran is the puppet, the one pulling the strings and causing all these puppets to dance, and they're preparing, I believe, to actually attack Iran before this is over.
Well, and of course, we know that Iran is preparing, along with Russia and the allies, to take Israel out. They don't quite succeed, but it does say in Isaiah chapter 17 that Jacob's flesh waxes lean, so therefore there's going to be a great loss of life when this Isaiah 17 attack takes place, and it just doesn't appear that that's very far off from everything I can find.
Yeah, and of course, you know, in America right now, and I'd like your opinion on this, we're literally watching the part of the caravans now climbing the fence in California. They've already reached up to San Diego, and Mattis, of course, is down talking to the troops and the Border Patrol in Texas. But the caravan's crossing in California, very, very interesting. Now, what's interesting, too, is that Z3 News posted a report today, and I put it out. Says this Sadio Sundar Salverge, he's a prophetic individual from and been pretty accurate
India.
for a long time now, from Singapore, and he reports he had a angel of the Lord visitation and a warning of an evil plan to remove President Trump from office, and he says that that at the tops, if people don't pray, if the Christians don't pray for the protection of Trump, that Trump may only have like 5 more weeks, and this thing will be over there, that they'll come after him and it's over.
Well, we know that sooner or later he's got to go for the New World Order to really come into play, and I know a lot of people think it's foolish to say that Obama is coming back, but I'm absolutely convinced he is. The only question is how does Trump leave? What makes him leave office? And of course, then you have the problem of timelines, et cetera, et cetera. So we got to watch very, very carefully what's going on in Washington, and we also got to watch what's going on. And there's some movements going on with Trump firing the DHS secretary because evidently she's not doing anything about the border. And I'm wondering if anything is going to be done about the border. What's your take on that? I'm wondering if all of this is just a sham for show. Meanwhile, a huge caravan, and they're all men basically, are all coming into California.
Well, you know, California is known as welfare, but it's also known as a leftist sanctuary state. Where else would they really want to go anyway? I'm not even sure it's part of the country anymore. But what is interesting, and I don't know if you'd heard the news yet, but I think Trump just dismissed the deputy under Bolton, John Bolton, who had a run-in with Melania, and she's now, I heard, out of the White House. So there's a lot of changes going on at this moment. And you know, like I say, 5 weeks takes us to January when the new Congress takes over. So I don't know. Yep.
Anyway, folks, it's a heads up for the Middle East. Keep your eyes on what's going on. Don't be diverted because it seems quiet. It's not going to stay quiet. We know that for a fact. And there's some odd stuff going on, too, with the fires out in California. Very, very weird, very strange fires that even seasoned firemen are saying this is not normal. And it almost seems like a new system, directed energy weapon system is being experimented with. It's very, very odd also that they are following planned operations under Agenda 21. Anyway, good night, folks, and we'll see you. If we hear of anything, we'll definitely put up a post. Anyway, good night, everyone. Take care.